Hey guys, so welcome to Tuesday Video Drop. If you've been with me, you know that I'm in the middle of a series talking about how do we live with purpose and connection and with intention. So I've talked about how we do that in our circle with starting with us. How do we do that with ourselves? And then last week, my favorite topic, I talked about how we do that in our marriages with our favorite person, with our spouse, our partner. And so this week, expanding that circle a little bit more, and we're talking about how do we live with purpose, connection, and intention with our kids and in our parenting. So I'm going to be just real upfront and honest with you. I don't love talking about parenting simply because I don't want people to think that we think or that we do have it all together. We do not. We kept having kids, and you know what? We had 4, and still not a single one of them came out perfect. We do not have perfect children, and I bet you don't have perfect children either. We are coming from a place of, I am coming from a place of just humility, and I promise you, my children teach me humility on a regular basis. But in fact, I think that we should have that warning system that trucks have when they back up. I feel like the Foxes should have that warning system when we arrive on the scene. Anytime we show up somewhere, we should just have a warning system that, hey, they've arrived and you might want to get out of the way. So also, I just come from a place when it comes to parenting from a mantra that, and I want you to accept this too, just keep it in your mind, is that there is no one right way to parent. I know your in-laws, your older siblings, your best friends, strangers who walk up to you in the store may make you feel that there is only one right way, and you are obviously not doing it, but I want to be here to tell you there is more than one right way to parent. In fact, we have to live under this umbrella of thinking with the fact that we have 4 kids and we can't parent all of our kids the same way. If you have one child, you can't parent that child the same way in every season. So we have to be able to be fluid in our parenting. So I'm coming to you with this topic with great humility, and I'm hoping encouragement. So how do we live with purpose, connection, and intention with our kids and as we parent? So if you're a parent, a grandparent, a guardian, someone who mentors kids, this is going to be, I think, hopefully very good for you. Simply put, it's deliberate and thoughtful parenting. Deliberate and thoughtful. It's not just by the seat of our pants or based on our mood or how we feel. It means that on a regular basis, most of the time, we are coming from a place that we're deliberate and we're thoughtful about our instruction and how we are connecting with our kids. So let me give you a few ways in how we do that. Number 1, that means you prioritize your time and your energy. So it's quality over quantity. You might spend an entire day with your kids, but if you are having to work or you're having to, you're distracted by your phone or with other people, that isn't necessarily quality, and we can pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, but I spent the entire day with our kids. But to our kids, it's the quality that's more important than the quantity. That also comes in terms of what we give our kids. The material things that we give them. Let's give them the quality things, experiences, and things that are going to grow them as a person and expose them to the world so they can start developing and understanding who they are versus just giving them a lot of stuff. The second thing, it's not necessarily, oh, I love this one. It's not necessarily being consistent. That is important. Oh, how often do you hear as a parent that the most important thing is that you are consistent? Because right off the bat, you're like, well, I just failed because I'm not consistent. I mean, heck, I can't even stay on a diet for 4 hours. So, with my kids, I am probably not super consistent. Telling us as parents that we need to be consistent, that's the most important thing. We already feel like, well, I'm a failure because consistency is really, really hard to maintain. Here's what I would like for you to make more of a priority, and it's persistence more than consistency. Be persistent about your parenting more than consistent. And what do I mean by that? Persistent means I'm going to be persistent about the guidelines and the instructions that I give you more than being consistent. Here's an example of that for us. We have no rated R with our kids. We don't let them watch rated R movies for obvious reasons. It's our job to protect their mind and their heart. And so we don't let them watch rated R movies. However, we made an exception for one of our kids, our oldest, when he was going through a particular history time in school of World War II. My husband made the decision to watch a rated R movie with him that was rated R for obvious reasons, for violence and things like that, and he watched it with him. So you could easily say we are not being consistent because we let him watch the rated R movie. And he has tried to use that, but you let me watch that rated R movie, and we are persistent in saying the reason you are not allowed to watch a rated R movie is for these reasons. And you understand that we made the exception to that. So we're persistent in continuing to drive home to him that it's our job to guard his mind and his heart and to develop his moral character and who he is. Which leads me to number 3. When we're being a parent that has purpose and we're trying to create connection and intention with our kids, our instruction is intentional. It's not whimsical or on a whim. It's not based on our mood or how we're feeling or what a bad day versus good day. We're being very intentional with our instruction. Because let me tell you something. You want a kid who is kind, who is loving, who's respectful, who's generous, who's compassionate. Those character traits do not just happen. We have to teach that. We have to instill that in them. It's very important. Here's some things I want you to remember that are not your job as a parent. It is not your job to make your kids happy. I have a whole video on that. It's very freeing when you understand that your job is not to make your kids happy. It is also not a good idea to parent your kids in a way to give them something that you didn't have as a kid. So I meet a lot of parents who their whole concept of parenting is to make sure their kids get all the things or get the kind of life that they didn't get to have as a parent. That's not a great place to come from when it comes to parenting. Third, don't parent simply because you're trying to parent opposite of the way you were parented. Or you're trying to parent exactly, not too many people do this, but you're trying to parent exactly the way you were parented. It's really important that you don't have those things to make them happy, to give them the childhood you didn't have, or to parent opposite of your parents. Those are not good foundations. Those aren't good places or healthy places to come from as a parent. It has to be more intentional than that. The purpose of parenting and doing it well is to do it for connection. We want to connect with our kids, with who they are as individuals. And we do this by parenting with intention. I hope this has been helpful and encouraging to you. We will see you next week.